We have quite a topic today. It's something that people shy away from. You may grimace and not want to talk about it, but what do you have planned for when you leave and you exit this little blue marble we call Earth? No one wants to think about it and no one wants to talk about it. But guess what? We're going to talk about it today. And we're talking with our wonderful guest speaker today, Gail Rubin, who's the expert in this field. So, Gail first started out, she wrote Matching Hatchings and Dispatchings, which focused on key life cycles, which are weddings, births, and deaths. And she also is the author of the Albuquerque Tribune. And what she noticed that people were really responding to funerals and deaths out of everything, right? And so I guess that catapulted you on this adventure in this field.
Yeah, right. Yes, I was writing about weddings and births and deaths in this column in the Albuquerque Tribune called Matchings, Hatchings, and Dispatchings. And it was the stories about death and funerals that got the most reader response. My original idea was a book about creative life cycle events. And let's face it, there's already plenty on wedding planning. There's not too much to write about creative birthing, but there was a wide open field when it came to death. And so I focused on funerals, and A Good Goodbye, Funeral Planning for Those Who Don't Plan to Die was my first book in the end of life field. And that changed the course of my career.
Yes. And you're called, what is it?
The Doyenne of Death.
Doyenne of Death. And explain what that is.
A doyenne is a French term. It's for a woman who's considered senior in a group who knows a lot about a particular subject.
Wow.
So that would be me when it comes to the party no one wants to plan.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Gail, I was watching one of your TEDx shows with TEDx talks, and it was really informative and humorous, I must say. So I really enjoyed that. And I love your saying shop till you drop.
Shop before you
drop. Before you drop.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, is that the truth? So I was just curious because the last time we had to bury anybody in our family was the early 90s. And I was really curious to see what it would cost today. And I almost fell over. I mean, listen to this. Metal caskets, $2,500. Funeral services, $2,500. There's a vault, there's cremation, there's embalming, funeral home staff, cremation, hearse, transportation, cosmetics, memorial services. You've got other vehicles that might be used. This doesn't even cover or include the headstone, the burial plot, flowers, the obituary. I'm like, I wanted to cry. I'm like, who can afford funerals anymore today? So my question is, what part would life insurance help pay for this insanity?
Well, in fact, I am a licensed insurance agent in New Mexico. Although I don't make a big deal about it. But when it comes to paying for your end of life expenses, there is something called a final expense insurance policy. You've probably seen some ads for this on TV. Only, $10 a month for, coverage. They don't tell you $10 a month gets you $1,000 in coverage. That's not going to be anywhere near what you need. So but a final expense policy, you get it when you're older, like over 55. And it's a smaller policy, usually up to like $30,000. Because when you look at it, you're probably looking at $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 maybe just for the funeral expenses.
Oh my God, really?
It's crazy, Arlene.
Oh my God. Who
could afford that?
Especially nowadays.
Exactly.
Well, bury get buried in the backyard.
This is why cremation has become so popular.
Yeah, that's what I'm...
Generally, a direct cremation is a lot less expensive than the burial plot, the casket, you still have to pay a funeral home to cremate your body. But even then, you could go the route of donating your body to science. And that way you get a free cremation in exchange for them taking your body and doing whatever they do with it. And maybe your family will get the cremated remains back, maybe not. So,
after they butcher it up. No, thank you.
Oh my gosh.
But even if you do want to get a free cremation by donating your body, you need to have a plan B because they don't always take your body when you die. They might have a full morgue. They might not, you might have died of a communicable disease, which would preclude your donation. So, yeah, there's a lot of variables that you need to take into account. But yeah, saving the money or buying an insurance policy, or, you can even pre-plan for your funeral. And when you go to prepay for it, you're not giving your money to the funeral home. You're buying an insurance policy that would pay the funeral home. And in most cases, and you should make sure if you're going to be buying a pre-need policy that you can transfer should you decide to move to another market. That policy is still, you own it, and you can take the money in that policy and take it to a different funeral home in your new market. So you don't lose your money.
Wow. The other thing I wanted to talk about also is the cremation services, because we had chatted about this because I'm looking into that. And there's a big one, the Neptune. And my husband and I want to travel, so we figure if one of us kicks the bucket while we're away, could we go to like a McDonald's where they are located branches around, and you could prepay them also, right? And have that.
In many cases, and I know with Neptune Society, what they do is offer you it's usually or currently about a $500 policy that would pay for your body to be taken care of should you die outside of your home market, at least 75 miles away. And so that is something just about every funeral home, when you pre-arrange with a funeral home, will offer you this kind of policy.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know
okay, good. I'm sorry.
My sister bought their graves like 20 years ago. So at least they have that. But
well, and it's interesting. My parents both died within the past 2 years, but because my dad was very much a planner, when my grandparents died, and they went and bought plots for themselves next to my grandparents. And so they had the burial plots as well as the opening and closing and the grave and the marker. They prepaid for all of that. But about 10 years ago, I pointed out, well, you've got these burial plots, but you haven't made your funeral arrangements. And so I got them to pre-plan with a funeral home in the Washington, D.C. area where I'm from and where their burial plots are. So when they did die, the funeral home actually showed me how much money we saved by pre-planning with them. For my dad, it was at least $4,000. And for my mom, it was more like $12,000. Yeah. Saved that much money over that amount of time, more than 10 years ago. So the price is always going up. And, I know that, the Funeral Consumers Alliance says, well, you should pre-plan, but not prepay. I don't see a downside to doing this insurance funding in advance. You do want to make sure that you're not locked in to that particular funeral home with the insurance policy, but you can't go wrong with that kind of holding on to your money and ensuring that your arrangements are taken care of. Plus, you can pay it over time. You'll wind up paying a little more over the course of paying off that rather than fully funding that insurance policy.
Could you pay I'm going back to Neptune now for the cremation. You said 500, but could you pay it all? I mean, could you pay whatever it costs? Can you buy it then and just pay it?
Yes, that's
Okay.
part of the arrangement.
You could do that ahead of time. So that's taken care of.
So that's the average cost of cremation today? Around 5?
It varies widely depending on if you just want them to come and get the body and go burn it. No viewing, no ceremony, no nothing.
Right.
You come and pick up the box. It really depends on the market. I know here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I live, Probably about $1,200 is the current going rate.
They charge that much. Wow.
Yeah. And
Oh, man.
That's not that much, Joanne, though. If you think about
To get barbecued.
other part, you just don't get buried. You just don't put it in the ground. You just take your ashes and say la vie.
I told my family, I said, if you ever put me in an open box, I will come and haunt you. I swear to God. I don't want anybody crying over me. I want to be remembered as a goofy, fun, loving person that I am. So, yeah, times have changed. That's for sure.
it's so important to have those conversations with your loved ones.
Yeah.
You know, even better if you can go ahead and make your plans on file, you know, let people know. And one of the things about pre-planning and paying in advance, if your loved ones know that you've already paid for what you want in terms of the funeral service, they're not going to change it because they don't want to pay money to, you know, do something different. And if you're working with, you know, a good funeral home, they're like, you know, Arlene said this is what she wanted and this is what we're going to do for her.
Yeah.
I think funerals are so traumatic, especially for little children that have to attend. I mean, my first one, I was only in first grade when one of my classmates died of leukemia, and it was traumatic. And I still have nightmares over that because it's too much for, you know.
No, but I don't think keeping kids away from funerals is a good idea either.
Yeah.
They're wondering what are they missing? What,
Right.
you know, why are the adults so scared of this?
Right. My mom kept me away from my grandfather's funeral, and I cried in the car outside in the curb because she thought it would be true because I was so close to my grandfather. I was only, 8, 9 years old. And it was, yeah.
See, and we all, well, probably around the same, but yeah, I grew up in the 50s and I remember I was really little. I don't know. I don't even think it was a member of it. I don't know who it was, but oh my God, back then, you know, it was open casket. I know, Gail, you're from the Jewish faith, so you have to close, which is good.
That's good.
To that, you know, you have to look at the people. I mean, Irish years ago, they used to do it in their house. They used to keep the person on the table.
Well, they celebrated. They knew how to do it right.
Dance around them and drink. It's
have a
kind of fun to
party.
have a party. But anyways, I remember going. I didn't know what I was going to, and it was so dank and dark.
Yeah.
It had that smell of the flowers, that real perfumey. And the woman they didn't do all the good makeup and stuff that they do now. She was so white and in a white dress. It scared the bejesus out of me.
Yeah.
I still remember that. I was like, oh my God.
And they put them in a shroud. They looked like a ghost. It was horrible.
Yeah, it was not a.
It was always dark. Remember, the room was always dark and it's creepy.
And the funeral director, you're creepy too.
Oh, yeah.
You look like Lurch.
Yeah, Lurch. Exactly. So
and that's one of the things about funeral directors. They're actually, I go to a lot of the conventions, the National Funeral Directors Association and the International Cemetery Cremation and Funeral Association. When you're around funeral directors, they are some of the nicest, funniest people.
Sure. I'm sure.
Just when
they have to be.
A family has had a death, they have to be somber and solicitous, and it's unfortunately given them a bad rap.
Well, I think years ago, just the way that the whole mannerism was different. Nowadays, it's different. You know, I wanted to touch upon that. I came across this instead of part of the cremation, they do alkaline hydrolysis. If you could explain that is like really, woo.
It's water-based cremation.
Yeah.
Oh, water-based.
So fire-based cremation, you're reducing the body down to the bones using heat and flame. In the case of alkaline hydrolysis, the body is put into a tank with water and potassium, alkaline chemical, and brought up to temperature. So you're kind of like cooked in this tank, and it speeds up the decomposition of the flesh down to the bones within 5, it depends on the model of the system that's being used, but it could be anywhere from a couple hours to 8 hours that then you're down to just the bones. And in fact, with the alkaline hydrolysis process, you get like 20% more bone matter back than the fire-based cremation because the fire actually blows the cremated remains around, so you lose some of it
out in the atmosphere. It gets blown out. It's
Yeah.
out. Yeah. Well, they say it's good for green, to be green, that it's not polluting.
Well, yeah,
right.
it uses like 1/10 of the energy that flame-based cremation uses, so it's got a much smaller carbon footprint.
Right. You know what I thought was pretty cool? Well, I just lost a brother-in-law about a year ago, and I thought what they did, they took his fingerprint and they made jewelry out of it. So it was a pendant, but there's beautiful paperweights you could do now. And being the artist, man, I want to, if you're going to do anything with me, make me a paperweight.
Joanne, here you go, Joanne. You could create the person and put their ashes actually in it. Oh my God.
In the wings, right? Oh my God. How crazy is that?
That's amazing.
There are a lot of things that can be done with cremated remains, besides putting it in jewelry or in glass artwork. People are, putting them in paintings, actually having paintings made of them with their cremated remains.
That's what we were saying. Joanne's an artist.
A whole new category. Here we go.
There you go, Joanne.
I
Voila.
want people's ashes coming to my house from all over the world. Oh, God. No.
Or putting them in fireworks, or putting them in bullets and going out shooting. And
wow.
Bullets?
Oh, no, that's.
But a lot of people just scatter the ashes.
Yeah.
Either, out in the country, or, some body of water, or the ocean. And there are different, products that are out there. Actually, Albuquerque, New Mexico is a hotbed of funeral innovation. Besides me being here, there's a company called Passages International that does eco-friendly burial and cremation products. So if you wanted to go out on the ocean, but you don't want to just throw the ashes up in the air, you put them in a biodegradable form. They've got different forms like sea turtles and giant shells that would float on the surface of the water for a few minutes and then gently sink down.
Yeah, because I've seen parties where they throw the ashes up in the air out on the ocean or the lake, and the wind brings them back, and it's all over their guests on the boat.
That's
not a good
problem.
look,
I wonder, you have so much in your area, New Mexico, because of the Native American population. They're very much into spirit, you think, now? Open to it,
Actually, Jewish funeral traditions are naturally green burial.
I know that. Yeah.
Cotton or linen clothing on the body, the shrouds they're buried dressed in, a casket that's biodegradable, either a soft wood or it could be woven seagrass or wicker, and placed in contact with the earth. In most cemeteries that are not green burial cemeteries, they require a liner, but with Jewish traditions, you can ask for the bottom to be removed so the casket is in contact with the earth. So it still supports the earth over the buried body, but doesn't affect the look of the cemetery. It still supports the heavy machinery as it drives over on the grass.
And collapse.
Right, with her collapsing.
Is there dialogue within the industry as far as the future? Because so much of the land is being used for cemetery burials, which to me is like, oh my God, look, all the homeless population, you can use that land for that, right?
Right.
Anything?
There are a number of cemeteries that are actually expanding their capacity by putting up niche walls. So walls to house cremated remains. And when you look at the trends for disposition, cremation is above 70% now.
I was going to say, yeah.
And so more and more people are choosing cremation. And when you choose cremation, you don't have to work with the cemetery. So there are cemeteries that are stepping up to address the rise in cremation to say, Well, you don't want to be keeping, urns of your loved ones around the house. There are, people can break in and they get stolen, massive wildfire, and all these people who had cremated remains in their houses. It's like they've lost their deceased loved ones along with their houses.
Wow.
So really, cremated remains don't belong at home. They belong in a permanent final resting place. And so cemeteries really need to step up to let people know, we can provide that safe, secure place for your loved one's final resting place.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, but nobody's going to come visit me. That's not the point. Nobody's going to, well, I don't know if anybody's going to come visit me. I don't have children. So that's not a concern of mine, but I do have a burial plot, and I will have a headstone that says I'm the Doyenne of Death. So if people want to come and find me, yeah, they'll know.
Wow.
I think
I know many people do not want to give up those ashes because, they're alone and they feel like that's the only way that they could have their loved one near them in the house. I mean, I know many clients that have that. So,
yeah. I think it's very important for our listeners to understand and really hear this. Take care of things that need to be taken care of. I had, family, a cousin's wife or whatever, and she happened to pass very quickly. She got an aneurysm. She went swimming, and it was, when I say shock, it was a total shock. So they had her on life support. She happened to be an attorney, and they didn't know what to do to unplug her. You know what I'm saying? So you have to have that end of life, the script written out for that. And also, she had everything in order and in line. They didn't even know that. So she was donating her organs, and I think she was cremated. She had everything taken care of. So it was taken out of their hands. They didn't even have to make the decision, my cousin and his daughter to, oh my God, what are we going to do? Because they were so it was such a shock, and they were such a grief, immediately. So it's important for us to really look at this and address it and speak to someone like you,
exactly.
and
Yeah, that's one thing we never think we're going to, sudden deaths or car accidents. I mean, it's life.
There's so much information that needs to be pulled together. Do you know their social security number? Do you know where they were born? Their parents' names, the mother's maiden name. Were they in the service? These are all questions that relate directly to the death certificate. And, if they were veterans, they get a burial right at a national cemetery with a marker that's thousands of dollars worth of value right there, whether you do choose cremation or a full body burial. That, and what do you want? Is that what you want? You can also be composted these days. There are a whole host of other disposition options that are coming up.
I think that's a
And
nice.
what happens?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And what happens to your stuff? Is there a will? Is there a trust? Are there beneficiaries on your bank account? If you die and there's no beneficiaries, it could go to the state. And
that was my question, Gail. Like, I'm beneficiary on many accounts for my single brother. He's a bachelor. And he says he doesn't need a will because if I'm beneficiary, then he doesn't need a will. Does that
for the
suffice?
accounts, that's for sure. Yeah. If you're named as beneficiary, that automatically goes to you. And it doesn't have to be probated. But if he owns property,
a house, right? Childhood home,
house, vehicle, other insurance policies,
Right.
Who's named on those policies? So, it is possible that most of that can be taken care of without the need for a will. But if he's got a house, unless he's got a transfer on death deed to go to you, that would have to be probated.
If there was a transfer of deed, does that mean I'm stuck with all the insurance payments property tax and all that fun stuff?
Probably.
I keep a house. Oh my God. Yeah, that was another question because he was a veteran. He was a vet. Does every state offer free burial plaques for veterans?
It's for a national cemetery, so that's a federal cemetery. Although some states have state veteran cemeteries, and they work with the VA to accommodate veteran deaths and burials.
Okay. All right. Interesting to know. Yeah.
No.
But, I saw this stat, that even the Arlington National Cemetery is going to run out of burial space by 2041. And Boston's largest cemetery, so they'll be filled in 10 years. So I often wondered, because I remember reading an article when I was just a teenager that by 2000 we'd be burying all the boomers in high-rise mausoleums because we'd run out of space. Interesting.
Here in New Mexico, the Santa Fe Cemetery is running out of space,
Yeah.
but they're building a new cemetery on the west side of Albuquerque. Got a great view of Sandia Mountain to the east, and that'll be
Okay.
very nice and much needed.
Right.
No, I think we should all be green. I think we should all be cremated, and then you put the ashes and you plant a tree.
Right. Plant a tree.
Plant something that could sustain life.
Well, I got news for you. Cremated remains are not good planting material, unfortunately.
Really?
Because the embalming fluid, probably all that chemicals.
No, not even
No?
that. It's just bone matter, but it doesn't have any nutrients per se that would be beneficial for a tree. However, there is a service called Better Place Forests, which has these acres of forest land where you can basically buy the rights to have your cremated remains and those of your loved ones put around a particular tree. And then people can go, visit you by taking a walk in the woods, which I think is really lovely.
I like that. See,
That's a good one.
yeah, do that. I
Check
think
that
we
one.
should
Yeah.
do that one. That's
I
what else? Any
I
other
like it.
pointers like that? That's a good one. I like that.
So there is a system, several different systems of urns that allow you to put cremated remains in with organic material and fertilizer, mix it up, and you can plant a sapling in that urn and it will grow. And you can eventually transplant it to an outdoor setting. So in that way,
Wow.
the cremated remains can be.
Hey, Joanne, future gift for
Incorporated.
us. Guess what you're getting for your birthday?
I'm getting an urn with an angel on it. Oh my God. Well, there was a study done by 2 urban planning professionals, and they determined that roughly 76 million Americans are going to reach the age of life expectancy between 2024 and 2042. So I'll tell you what, you
There's a
got to start thinking about this
population
stuff because
of us, yeah.
look at that, baby boomers. We make up the majority of the population, and we're like A's,
Yes, the baby boomers are crashing on the shores of mortality. The silver tsunami is coming.
Yeah, a third of my graduating class is gone. A third.
Mm.
That's kind of scary.
And what you brought up, Gail, is
No.
so important. It's just, I always think about this because my husband is closing up. He had an insurance business, and but while he had it, I'm thinking, oh my God, if something happened to him, I don't even know where to go. Who do I call? I don't know anybody in that industry. I wouldn't know what to do. So one year I did get for the holiday. It's one of the gifts I gave him. It's this book, and it says, "I died. Now what?" And it's a book. It's all categorized of things you should do and fill out, which was great. It was a great resource. Did we fill it out? Nope, I still haven't.
No.
So, but that is important. And also with all the world, what's happening now between the floods and fires and everything, you should have all those documents into, fireproof bags or one place that you could just grab and leave if you have to, or it could survive whatever happens. That's so important. Because to try to find, like you said, try to find all that stuff if something happens. I know when my mother passed, we didn't have her birth certificate. We had to go to, City Hall. Oh my God. It's just those little things they turn out to be big headaches.
Yeah. So being prepared is key, at our age.
That's what this is all.
Even though we don't like to face mortality, it's like
And
we're
it's
not going to
good
live
thing to
forever.
talk to the family about and your kids and grandkids and everything. I talk to my grandkids when they're here. I said, "What things do you want?" I'll start marking them. Put names on. So they don't have to fight over particular thing. Now they're ready. Now they come over. They say, "Hey, I really like that," and they're like, "Well, geez, thanks a lot." Give me a break. Check it out tomorrow. I think hopefully
There's sticky notes all over everything in your house.
on the back.
Oh my God.
You know what? I don't know if you're familiar with this though. You probably are, I'm sure, Gail. There's 12 states right now that cover death by dignity. I don't know if you're involved with that all.
Medical aid and dying. Yes. New
Or-
Mexico is one of them.
Yes, and assisted suicide. Now the parameters you have to be 6 months out, like, if you have whatever, and you're only gonna have they give you a certain amount of time. You have to have doctors note. Doctors
If you go on hospice care, that usually means a 6-month prognosis.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, I have experience with medical aid and dying in my own family. So the experience was with my in-laws, my mother-in-law, Myra, and her second husband, Al. Al was a large and in charge kind of guy, and he thought it would be a great idea. They were both 94 at the time. Wouldn't it be great if we could just die together and be done with it?
Wow.
So they went on hospice, and when it came time to evaluate them, my petite, frail mother-in-law, Myra, qualified, but Mr. Large and in charge Al was deemed too healthy.
Bad.
So he said, never mind. And they put it off. And they dropped off of hospice, which I think was a mistake because 6 months later, literally that 6-month diagnosis window, Al was actively dying and not mentally competent to sign the MAID paperwork.
Oh, wow.
He went through hours of terminal agitation on his king-size bed before he expired at 3 a.m. on July 2nd. And on July 8th, Myra accessed medical aid and dying, and we had a little gathering in the living room with her and just some close family members with music and singing, roses and candles. She drank a 2-ounce mixture of 5 potent medications with a sorbet chaser. Sorbet is because it's kind of burny and bitter.
I want a martini.
Espresso
You might
martini.
do that. Well, I don't know. And within 3 minutes, she fell asleep. She was in a recliner in the living room. And within the hour, she had just peacefully passed away.
Wow.
So, you can call it assisted suicide. You can call it death with dignity. I think it is such a blessing that she was able to exit on her own terms at the age of 94.
Wow.
And frankly, I wasn't sure she was going to make it to July 8th after Al died because she was sleeping a lot. She wasn't eating much, but she did make it to that. And she was mentally sharp right up to the end there.
I think we'll see more of it. I know there's 12. I'll just mention the states. It's Washington, D.C., California, Colorado, Oregon, Vermont, New Mexico, Maine, New Jersey, Hawaii, and Washington State. Now, Oregon, you have to be residents of the state, but in Oregon and Vermont, they will accept non-residents. So
Same in New Mexico. You can come here.
Oh, really? I didn't see that listed.
God.
I only saw,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, wow.
Maybe they
Okay.
changed it. Maybe they changed it.
I wasn't aware of that.
You just pack a little overnight. No,
Oh, God.
overnight to the big night.
Then they have to haul you back.
We laugh about, but you know what? Gail, I worked in hospice. I volunteered and everything. And for me, this world would be a different place if people would volunteer with babies, could be babies being born and us that are leaving, because it opens up. It's palpable. You've been around. It's palpable. You could feel the energy, and it's sacred. And it brings me to tears because it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And all known religions, they say it's a celebration of life. This isn't
Right.
the deal, but we're so want to hang on to this, you know?
Right. I never saw it as dying. I always saw it as graduating, you know? So you've been through all of your lessons and you're graduating with highest honors. So that's the way I look at it.
So in closing, I just wanted to mention, we'll have all your links below. Gail's website's a goodgoodbye.com, correct? To reach you for any questions in business. Gail has written 3 books, I believe. A Good Goodbye, Funeral Planning for Those Who Don't Plan to Die, Hail and Farewell, and also Kicking the Bucket List. I love the
That's
title.
good.
So, so out of this, I'm sorry, what?
I always put humor into these
Yeah, I have humor.
type
Yeah.
dark topic. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the most important, if you had to encapsulate it, what's the most important thing you think someone could do before they exit this blue marble that we call Earth?
Plan ahead. Put your information together. In fact, if you go to my website, you can download a 10-page planning form that'll help you that information.
Terrific.
Yeah. And at least do that. You could write a letter to your loved ones, outlining what you might like for, your disposition and, who gets what value of yours. I had a friend of mine do that, and it was very helpful. People to contact, your close friends, whoever's going to be taking care of this stuff for you, they may not know everybody who knows you.
Right.
Exactly.
And the other part is if there's a celebration of life after or a serum, something, if there's some type of service, especially for the female population of us out there, get your butt in gear and get your pictures that you want on that board. So they don't stick up horror. Do your own and get it done ahead of time.
There you go. Oh my gosh.
That's my suggestion. Joanne, do you have anything to
And just remember, shop before you drop. So, and many of us boomers, we're outliving the age that our parents passed because we're taking better care of ourselves. So
we're outliving some of the younger ones because of the our diets and everything. They're eating more crap than we did, but whatever.
Well, my dad outlived his parents by 10 years, and my mom outlived her mom by 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Gail, at the show here, it's called our podcast is called Beacons of Balance. And what do you do personally for yourself to keep yourself in balance between the work you do and doing this work and everything? What do you do for Gail to keep you in the...
Oh, I have a hot tub in my backyard. I love my hot tub. I go soak in the hot tub and relax.
That sounds
nice.
Good. Y'all need to relax. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Very informative.
Being here, it was great. This is a great topic to cover. I think so beneficial. And I want to mention, I love your little decor there.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Does she have a name?
Lola.
Lola.
Lola, as in whatever Lola wants.
I think Lola danced until she dropped.
Yeah. She went out with FUN fun.
Yeah, she did. She did shop until she dropped. Oh. Thanks so much for being.
Yes. Thank you.
Everyone out there, please. Thank you for watching, listening. Get out of this space. For those that are listening, I'm pointing to my head, out of your head and drop into your heart space, please.
Right.
Remember to be the beautiful beacons of light that you are and shine out to this world because we desperately need it.
Right.
Spend time with your loved ones, your children, especially those that are getting elderly and older. And tell people you love them and share things with them. It's so important.
It is. Alrighty. Well, this was fabulous. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks, Gail. Take care, everyone. Till the next hack. Oh,
Bye.
remember to subscribe. And
Yes.
Joanne, tell them what to do.
Subscribe. And you know what? It doesn't cost anything. And make sure to leave some remarks and share because we've got some amazing podcasts out there. It's all about you, all about your growth.
We're here every Wednesday at 11 o'clock and they're archived. Go to Beacons of Balance and go into watch videos. And that's where you subscribe, where you have to go to subscribe, to hit the button and let us know what you think.
Yeah. You could go to beaconsofbalance.com and just hit watch now and everything's in there. Oh my gosh.
And
Okay, well,
check out Gail also because you have a podcast also.
I do, the Doyenne of Death podcast.
Great information. We need this. We have to educate ourselves. So
yes.
Very good.
All right. Well,
Great.
thank you, Arlene.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you,
Love you
Gail.
guys. Bye.
Love you.